Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another Around the Town of Branford with Henry and Frank. Today, we're bringing you a very special program from Branford Fire Headquarters. It's another Parent Cafe, presented and sponsored by Branford Families, a new organization. I have with me a co-founder of Branford Families, Celia Toche. How are you?
Good. Hi, Frank. Thank you for coming.
It's great to be here with you and with the people here in front of us, and it's a very important Parent Cafe tonight, right?
That's right. We have been doing a series on the digital family and healthy families in the digital age, and this is our last program in that series.
Yes, and it's going to be a great program, and it's going to talk to parents, instruct them even. We have with us today Chris Barden from Enterprise Computers, and he's going to be showing you as a parent the way to use the children's social media devices properly, to screen them so they can't get anything that might disturb them. And it's going to be great. There's going to be an overhead camera used, so you can actually see Chris as he turns off certain pages. Correct, Celia?
Correct. I think the idea for tonight is we all sort of understand what we need to do, but it's always helpful to have someone do it in front of you. And Chris will walk us through. It's going to be very interactive. We can interrupt him and ask him questions, and the camera will be focusing on the device.
It's going to be great. Now, if you have any questions about Branford Families, you can contact them at info@branfordfamilies.org. They also have a great Facebook page at, it's just called Branford Families.
That's right. And our website is branfordfamilies.org.
Also, as Celia stated just a few moments ago, this is their last Parent Cafe. It's now, it's the end of the school year, but they are going to start up again in the fall.
In the fall, we're starting a new series for next year, taking off of that conversation we had a few months ago with how families collaborate, how you establish rules, and bringing a compassion element to that. So the series for next year is collaboration and compassion. And we're, again, working with the schools, we're working with other organizations in town, and we're going to have monthly cafes again.
So, the thing to do is to keep their schedule, which you can find at, as we said, either at branfordfamilies.org or at their Facebook page. But it's a great organization. It fills a void in town. This group, Branford Families, it's all about information, news, expert insights on parenting, all these important questions as to how to really parent your kids, right?
Right, and it's mostly to help parents feel supported. We don't have all the answers, but if somebody has a problem, hey, reach out. We might be able to find it for you.
That's right.
That's all you can hope for.
That's right. Okay, so at this point now, I guess what we're going to do is things are going to be turned over to Celia Toche. She's the co-founder of Branford Families, and also with Chris Barden from Enterprise Computers. So
great.
Here we go. It's going to be great.
Great. I want to encourage families to go back to the website and look at all the things that have built up to today, which is what was going on at the schools, the layout of the schools, and then look into Dr. Farrell's conversation with us, all that material, how to monitor, how to think about building bonds, how to work collaborative, and then go back to all our material from Screenagers, because really that's what kicked off the conversation. And it's about a conversation and working together as a family with the schools and within our community. So go back to our website and look at what we've built up, and let's see what Chris has to say today. Thanks.
Thank you.
Chris.
Okay, Chris, take it away.
All right. So, like we said, one of the biggest things with, kids and social media is, you can see them younger than 13 walking around with a smartphone in their hands, and their heads are usually buried down, and half the time they're sitting in front of you doing, you have no idea what. So one of the biggest and, you know, just the simplest things you can do on the phone to keep a kid safe, even from, you know, child predators and everything. So just, you know, quick note, this actually is my own personal device. So it's not one I just brought in, set up. So one of the biggest things is called location services. That's what your phone uses to, you know, access the GPS satellites. You use it for using your GPS on your phone or Waze or whatever app that you use to navigate through town. What a lot of people don't realize is that is also what allows your photos or your post on Instagram, Facebook to be tagged with a geolocation. So for instance, you know, your kid posts something on Facebook and they have a wide open account and they're able to, you know, have anybody friend them. And they'll accept a friend request because the more friends you have on social media or the more followers you have, the more important you are, the more cool you are, the more socialite you are, I guess you should say. So, you know, it could be somebody with a fake account. It could be, you know, an adult, a child predator per se. I'm not saying that everybody out there who friends a kid is a child predator, but they will use these accounts on wide open, you know, kids that, oh, this kid's a teenager. They have 1,500 friends with one more. So they'll post a picture, and then what they'll do is they'll see, oh, okay, they're here. And they'll keep tracking, and they'll be like, oh, hey, I noticed you like to go here. I like to go here too. And it just kind of lulls them into a false sense of security to the point where if they're posting from inside your house, you know, it may not be an exact location, but they'll be able to pinpoint pretty well where your house is. And that's when trouble can happen. You know, a lot of not only child predators, sex trafficking, you know, kidnapping, it happens because of stuff like this. You know, another thing that I was talking about, you know, another thing is if you friend your kids on social media, and don't be afraid to do that. Don't feel like, oh, I'm going to embarrass them. They're kids. We're their parents. We're allowed to embarrass our children. And if they're hesitant or their response is not to friend you right away or go, oh, but why are you friending me? That's a red flag to look for. There's a, you know, there's a lot, you know, there's a lot you can look for. You know, Instagram, what a lot of kids will do is they'll have their family Instagram. You know, they'll post pictures with the family, and they'll allow, you know, mom and dad and grandma, aunt and uncle, you know, things they don't mind, you know, the adults in their life seeing. And then they'll create what's called a fake Instagram, or what we call a Finsta. And what that is that is a lockdown account that they don't want you to see. They're posting the real things. So, you know, again, that's where it comes down to, don't be afraid to monitor what your child does. You know, yeah, go ahead.
How can we tell if they have a Finsta?
You can search by their phone number, their email address, or even just a username. Or if you know some of their friends, look who their friends are following. If you see your child's photo in there twice, and one says you're already following and one says to follow, then you know they have a second account. The other big one, and it's kind of more backtracking a little bit, you know, have a contract. There's pre-written out cell phone agreement contracts. It lays out what your expectations as essentially you're the owner of their device. You know, that's in your name. That's your device. One of the big things is cell phone use is a privilege. It's not a right. You know, they're not 18. They legally cannot enter into that binding contract. So, I mean, you know, the contract comes in and it outlines what you expect of them, and then it outlines consequences. You know, and the biggest thing is absolutely follow through on those consequences. You know, when we were growing up, we did something wrong, we had consequences for it. And a lot of times it was, you know, go to your room, and you went to your room. You had no TV, you had no cell phone, you had no video games, you had nothing. You had books.
Okay, when you work the camera,
Yeah.
work it out there.
All right, no problem. So, you know, you had books, or you had your imagination, and it was always, don't let me hear any noise coming from this room. So, nowadays, unfortunately, most kids have TVs and everything, technology at their disposal. And this is kind of and every house is different. My daughter, we try to encourage her to read. So it's kind of like, okay, if you read for an hour, you earn, X amount, 30 minutes of screen time. So if you got more than 30 minutes, you got to read for more than an hour. You got to read a 2, 3, 4 hour clip. But, that's just an example from like something I would instill in my household. Everybody's different. You got to know what you're comfortable giving your child. So, and if they already like to read, you can say, hey, you've read a lot lately, don't be afraid to pick up the tablet or the phone or the iPod, because iPod touches are still Wi-Fi enabled. They can still access Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. They can access all that because they're still making updated versions of the iPod Touch. So, yes.
I know when I went through the Commonwealth's online contract,
Mm-hmm.
it was really interesting to go through with the kids because they put out a bunch of scenarios.
Use the mic.
Oh,
If you could, you use the mic.
Lovely. Oh, good. Thank you, Frank.
They put, you sort of go through several scenarios
Mhm.
that, and so it really provides you with a discussion with your
Yes,
kids.
absolutely.
Because then you say, if you see this,
Mhm.
what would you do for this? Or if your friend sends you this, what would you do?
Mhm.
And it was incredible. We had an entire evening's discussion about it. And a lot of the times I was surprised to hear, because they've seen it a lot more than I did when I was a kid.
Oh, absolutely.
Been there, done that, or they're,
Yeah.
the words that kids use nowadays. So to me, I would give them the scenario, what if somebody sent you this? And they said, not a big deal. And I said, no, it is a big deal.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting to see where they stood on a lot of those things.
Yeah,
So
it's
I like that the contract.
yeah.
There's a lot of them online, and you can just find them. In,
There's so many different options out there for contracts. The big thing, and I've done research into this to prepare not only for tonight but other discussions I've had on this subject with other parents and other towns and other groups. There isn't a whole heck of a lot of built-in parental controls on devices. So the biggest piece of advice I have, again, it boils down to that is your device as the adult. So with iPhones, you have iCloud device, you have iCloud accounts. Create a specific iCloud account for that device. Say, Johnny's iPhone or, parental, whatever you want to name it. Just don't. I would not use your own iCloud account, because then what's going to happen is your text messages will come through, your emails will come through, and you obviously don't want your kids to see that. But if you have the kind of dummy account, I guess you can call it, or a secondary account used specifically for that, you can monitor certain things that come in. You can see their contacts, you can see their photos, because you can automatically push it to the cloud. iPhones do have a thing where you can set a password where they can't make any changes. So that I do like that feature about iPhone. Full disclosure, I have an Android, so I had to research a lot about the iPhones, but it's just where parental controls need to be, they're just not in the devices as I've seen yesterday.
Is there the equivalent of the iCloud for an Android?
Yes. So it's the same premise. You create the same thing. Create a secondary Gmail account, because Androids run off a Google platform. So again, you can run a secondary Gmail account, and you can have control on that. You can see their contacts. You can see browsing history actually with a Google account. So if they use Google Chrome on their device, you can pull it up. Or, if you're like, I wonder what they're doing, or, I'm not sure they saved something, but I want to make sure they're not doing anything, you can completely wipe the history on a device, or you can wipe the device with a Gmail account. Same thing with the iCloud account. You can completely wipe out an iPhone from a computer. You can wipe out an iPad from a computer. Do you have a question?
You're gonna need to tell us how to do that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know how to set up an iCloud account.
Yeah, so-
And that's why I'm here, because I
Yeah.
know nothing.
No, perfect. So what you would do, just because I don't have an Apple device, so I can't do it on the screen time. But so all you do is literally just go to iCloud.com, and you can create a name. Just create a secondary account on the iCloud, and then
You can use mine.
oh, perfect.
Let's see.
Hopefully.
Let's clear my browsing history.
So my question was about that, when you have to set up another, it has to be associated with an email address,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Can you just make one up? Or?
You can make up another email address again. If you, the great thing with technology at our disposal these days is if you need a secondary email account, you can create one. It's not hard. If you're comfortable with Gmail, so you just go. I'm gonna put this on the table. So iCloud.com.
You have to move it out so the camera picks it up. Yeah, thanks.
Gotcha. So iCloud.com. And then, you can set up iCloud on this device. So again, you get a new device. So I don't want to wipe out anything on your phone.
That's right.
So I won't. So you click set up iCloud on this device. It'll tell you exactly how to do it. Yeah, it's a little hard to see just because if I have a tablet in front of me. Yes.
So you would just grab your child's phone and do it from that phone?
Yes. So let's say you got a new phone for your child. It's their first phone. Let's say they're 13, just for sake. You're gonna want to you can create the account right on the phone, or you can go on iCloud.com on any computer and create it from there. It's just,
How do you link it to that?
so what you would do is you create the account. Your username would be whatever at iCloud.com, and then you just input that username plus the password, and it just links it right to the phone. You can sync contacts, emails. Now a step above that is
I'm sorry.
Yep.
How does it sync
so what it is when you create the account
from the phone?
from the phone, or you can do it on a computer, and it's kind of like the same thing. iPhone and Android, you log in with your iCloud account. Like if let's say us as adults, if we lost our phones, what do? We have no contacts in our new phone. That's where an iCloud account or a Google account comes in handy. You just log in with your username and your password. So it's kind of like signing into your email. You put your username.
I set one up even for myself.
Okay. All right. Yeah, but again, like I said, that's why we're here to learn how to do all this.
So,
Yeah.
can I add a little bit to that? 'Cause
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
actually did it on my daughter's phone.
Okay.
I got that far.
There we go.
So you can either set up the iCloud on the device directly or on the laptop. And then you go to settings and you go to manage, and down there you have to scroll down and it says iCloud manage and iCloud storage. Then you log into the iCloud that either you just created on the phone or on the computer through that settings tab. And once it has that, you have to choose how much you want to store, and it's something like 99 cents for 50 gigabytes.
Yeah,
And you don't have to just check on the
Mhm.
phone. You can check from the laptop what the phone has been saving in terms
Mhm.
of pictures or text, and you can tell it which things you want it to save.
Yeah, and the good thing with with keeping with the iCloud account is, you give your child that device with that account, you can go on the computer and there's a function, find my iPhone.
Yes.
You can see where that iPhone has been. And of course, obviously, if they're where they're supposed to be, you feel great as a parent inside. If they're not where they're supposed to be, then it's like, okay, panic, alert, red flags all over the place. That's where, you can kind of decide, well, do I trust that they just made a quick detour and just forgot to tell me? Or if they're there for an extended period, are they doing something wrong? And then do I go to where they are, or do I call them and say, hey, where are you? But that's the great part of having the GPS locations. And again, it goes hand in hand. It's like on one hand, you want the GPS locations turned off on your phones so nobody can see where your kids are posting from. But then on the flip side, if that's turned off, Find My iPhone or like location with Google isn't going to work. So it's kind of like you kind of like, what would you prefer? Now, the great thing is, aside from just creating secondary iCloud and Gmail accounts, there are apps that you can download to help you monitor your child's device. One I found in my research is an app called TeenSafe. It does cost, it does come with a cost. It's a monthly cost. I think it's $14.99 a month, but you have unlimited devices that you can add it to.
So if you have 2 children.
If you have 2 children, $14.99, it covers both children. So it will allow you to see their text messages. It allows you to see their contacts, their browsing history. It tracks their location. The great thing is it allows you to see deleted messages.
Okay. Do you want to bring that up?
Yeah, I'll bring it up. I'll pull up the website just because I don't have a subscription to it.
Safe.
Yep, because I'm that parent that is so horrible I won't let my 10-year-old have a phone. But so let's see if it comes in. It may not come in, but it's just teensafe.com. Everything I've read about it has been great. You can view sent, received, and deleted. So not only what they're sending, but what they're receiving and deleted, and iMessages, which is huge for iPhones, because most iPhone users use iMessage. It will do location. You can see the history of the location. So if you know they went to school that morning and they have practice, or they're going to a friend's house, you can say, okay, yep, they were at school. Yep, they were at Susie's house, but wow, no, they went here and they weren't supposed to, or they didn't tell me they were going here. And then, wow, they went there too. Man, they are really not where they're supposed to be. So you can do that. And this one, you can view calls too. Incoming, outgoing calls. You can see what numbers they've called for how long. And again, if it's a number you don't recognize, that's a way to pull that up, because, again, it's web history, and on Androids only, because there are some limitations. So Androids only, you can see installed apps on the phone. So sticking with that, the biggest thing with installed apps. So basics of our smartphones, or even our cell phones. So let's just stick with the smartphones. They come with a built-in calculator. They come with a built-in sound control device. If you take your child's device and you see something called like Sound Vol or Sound, Helper or Sound Creator, or you see a secondary calculator, those are false sound and calculator apps. What they really are vaults. They're for hiding things that you don't want people to see. You can hide apps, you can hide photos. So, kids are, if you see it, because when your phone comes with a calculator and a sound control device, you shouldn't have a need to download another one. So what kids have found is they felt, okay, well, my parents don't really look for these things. So somebody developed these apps to hide things for kids, or just hide things that people don't want. They come in handy because they can, especially for adults. We may have more of a use for them.
Do you want to show on the screen kind of what it looks like?
Yeah, I gotta find them, to be honest with you. That's the, and then another one, so I'll pull that out and just finish my thought with this one. So with TeenSafe, continuing with that, is on both types of devices, you can view contacts on your child's device. On iPhones, WhatsApp is a very popular messaging app. What a lot of people use it for, travel to Europe. Wi-Fi all over the place. You can message people with WhatsApp and you will not incur outrageous charges for, foreign roaming charges are astronomical. So WhatsApp is great, but what kids will do is they'll use it to communicate, and you can text phone numbers. You have to set it up with a phone number. I believe you can use it with an iPod. So somebody with an iPod who has WhatsApp can text message somebody with an iPhone or an Android. And again, that comes into the whole, well, the more people I talk to or the more people that follow me, the cooler I am, or the more popular I am.
So, you talking about Windows phones also?
Windows phones are a whole nother ball game. They really don't make. I haven't really seen a lot of new Windows phones hit the market recently. They're kind of going by the wayside. Just Android and iPhone have just flooded the market to the point where, Windows phones. There are still Windows phones users. I work with a Windows phone user. He loves his Windows phone. It functions like a computer. He can dock it and use it as a computer. It's running Windows. It might be Windows 8 or it might even be Windows 10. I don't even know at this point. Yeah.
That's the one we have.
Yeah, I'd have to do a little more research into Windows phones just because with Windows it's such a pain to develop just mobile applications because you have to write it on the computer level base. So a lot of companies will release apps for Android and iPhone only. Kick Messenger, I don't know if you can see it on the screen. It's not on the screen, but what Kick is, Kick was popular because it's kind of like, people post a picture, hey, rate my picture, and kids just get ugly. I mean, they just get downright nasty because it's anonymous. So kids will just downright berate each other, and it's some of the things I've heard have happened. It's just been sad. It makes you like, wow, what happened to when we were growing up?
Can you block that kid?
Can you block the device from installing new apps or some kind of apps?
If you set up, your iCloud account, you can, when you set up the iCloud, I believe you can set up the device. You can set it up to require a password to install apps. So, again, it comes down to you set the password, and if your child wants to install something, they pretty much have to ask you for the password, and then that's your opening. Say, well, what are you trying to install? And that opens up a good dialogue. Again, if they're kind of like, well, I need to install this thing, just because everybody uses it. And if they're avoiding the question or avoiding talking about it, it's a big red flag with their device. Or if they're just like, hey, I need to install, this app for school, it's for a class. A lot of times, don't be afraid, because nowadays you're in constant contact with the teacher. Don't be afraid to email or call the teacher. And if, they may may not get back to you right away, but they may get back to you later on in the day and say, I did mention this app for class, or it'll be, I don't know what you're talking about. I never said to download this. So again, they're trying to throw someone else into it who will, just make things a lot worse. So let's get back to, all right. I'm trying to go my train of thought. So
I'm going to add a little bit about WhatsApp. I learned that you can email yourself the whole conversation with a particular contact. And so you can go to the device, and at the bottom of the list of the contacts you've been chatting with, you can say email conversation. And then you just enter your email address, and it sends a whole dump file to your email. And then it looks gibberish, but it's all text, and it has the date, who it was written to, what was said in the text. It doesn't filter anything. You just kind of get the whole history.
Yeah, it's, you can, like I said, you can email things. So one of the things before everybody got here, Celia asked me if I saw that new Snapchat After Dark.
Yes.
So I hadn't heard about it, so I quickly Googled it, and I don't even know what to think with what I read. it's just not good from what I've read. It's, you know, because you can be 13 or older to use Snapchat. Snapchat is not gonna filter that out, you know. So it's by Cosmo, and you know, per se, I've never opened a Cosmo, but you've seen them in the grocery store and you know what they're about. I mean, some of the things I read, I mean, one article I read quickly, you know, kind of ran over it, was there's just very sexually explicit, you know, our articles on this, and it's part of Snapchat. I mean,
Snapchat after dark.
You gotta use the
Yeah.
mic.
It's a Snapchat
Yeah, it's-
app, and there's a new feature they have now in their sort of it's their Discover section, and you can go to it. And there's a lot of just, like he said, magazines and just things that are very random pop culture things. But there's a new feature 6 p.m. on Friday nights. It opens up a new after dark section that is a little bit more explicit.
yeah,
And there really isn't a way to turn that off. So it is a difficult thing. Snapchat is completely marketed
It
to
is.
preteens.
absolutely.
They do say that you need to be, I think it's 14,
Yeah, I'm
to
not
sign
sure.
on. A lot of parents and kids sign up for it with the incorrect date of their birth.
Yep.
But still, 14. Yeah, I was reading it as well. It's very explicit
So once you have
information.
Snapchat, you can go there?
Oh yeah.
After 6 p.m. on Fridays. Don't know. Yes, it's a very disturbing part of that, because Snapchat is incredibly popular. It's sort of taken over. Kids don't text so much anymore.
Yeah.
And they used to be, you know, well, this is a group of kids from my class or from my team used to text, but now it's mostly Snapchat.
Yep.
And it's very difficult because you feel like your child feels left out if they're unable to snap and keep up with their streaks, and
Yeah.
it is very difficult. But it's something that you just don't want to have your kids having a smartphone,
Yeah.
so they don't have access to it, and that needs to be your sorry, you can't get it
Yeah,
because I don't
and-
have it for you. But for a lot of
Yeah.
us who've already just handed down our old smartphone, this is my old one. So it was easier to just give it to her and say, here, have my smartphone. But it has opened up all kinds of problems.
Yeah, and the other thing with Snapchat is the pictures don't really just go away. So kids will use Snapchat thinking, I'm going to send so-and-so a, quote-unquote naughty picture, but it's going to go away in 6 seconds. Well, what Snapchat will do, you send someone that picture, they can screenshot it. And Snapchat will tell you they screenshot it. And you can't do anything about it. All you can do is say, well, why'd you screenshot my photo? Oh, well, I really wanted to have it, for longer than the 6 or 10 seconds. Well, what happens when that person gets mad? That photo gets out there. So, I mean, it's like, these are just, that's just one of the dangers of it, is kids figured out real quickly how to screenshot a photo on Snapchat. And now you can have the infinite time frame. So if you're like, oh, I don't care, we get along great, nothing bad's gonna happen. And like I said, you anger the person you sent that picture that you didn't want anyone else to see. All of a sudden, that gets around school. Somebody puts it up on a website, and then that gets around the World Wide Web. It's a very big mess. And again, it goes back to the phone contract. That I've seen some wording on social media doesn't get into specific things, but again, you can take a contract you found, you can kind of take the bits and pieces of the ones that you like, and just kind of make your own. Again, don't be afraid to take away the device. If you haven't seen it, there was a really good news special that Anderson Cooper did. I believe it's called Being 13, or I don't remember exactly the name of it. But they did I think it was an hour-long thing. They took a bunch of teenagers, and one of the things was they had to go a weekend, I believe, without their device. And one girl barely lasted 24 hours before she was bursting into tears And her little sister even said, well, I'll tell you what they're saying. And she just started yelling, it's not the same. I have to have it in front of me. So, I mean, that's the level, you know, the level it's getting to with the dangers of this. You know, I used to work in a school district, in a middle school, with 7th and 8th graders. You know, back when I was going through school, you know, cell phones weren't that big, but when we all had cell phones, they weren't allowed to be out in school. If you got caught with it, it got taken away. And your parents were called. Now they're encouraged to bring them. They have the bring your own device thing, so they want kids to feel included, and if you don't have your own device, they have devices for you, but you know, I can't tell you how many kids would walk around the school next to each other with their phones in their hands, heads buried in them, not talking to each other. You know, and again, it comes down to the, you know, one wrong photo, and that's all it takes. Or the, I'm going to tag everybody but this person in this photo, and it comes down to what they call fear of missing out. So a lot of times, kids will wake up exhausted because they're on their phones all night. So one of the things you can do to actually help combat that constant being on your device is, and I haven't really researched it with Frontier, but I know Comcast, if you have their internet, you can get the APPY app. You have complete control over the Wi-Fi. Unfortunately, I don't have a Comcast account anymore, so I'm not able to pull up the full controls. But what it allows you to do is, and I went through and tested every device. It pulls up every device connected to your Wi-Fi network, and when you figure out whose device is what, you can name them, and it allows you to shut off that device from the Wi-Fi. So if you're like, okay, it's dinner time, shut the Wi-Fi off. Everybody has to eat and no devices will go off because they can't. Or you can set a downtime. So, you know, when your kids go to bed, one of the things is they say blue light from the screen is what keeps the kids awake. And again, that whole fear of missing out. If the phone buzzes at midnight, I have to check it. What if I miss this message? Or, you know, buzzes a second time. Oh my God, so-and-so's gonna think I'm mad at them. And if you shut the Wi-Fi off, I mean, unfortunately with text messaging, if you have good cell phone reception in your house, there's really nothing to combat that aside from just shutting the phone off and taking it out of the bedroom. But the good thing is the Wi-Fi controls are great. You know, I've used them on my own child. I'm trying to ask her a question. Hello? Playing with her device, ask her a second time, hello? Playing with the device, third time, hello? No response. Shut the Wi-Fi off. 2 seconds later, hey, my tablet's not working. Oh, okay, the Wi-Fi is turned off. I want to ask you this question. So it's, you know, and it's become, yes.
We have Xfinity, and they will tutor you.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get a tech who will show you how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have videos on their website on how to set this up.
Yep. And it's very...
I'm sure the other cable companies, I know we're doing a plug for it.
Yeah, no, and you know, like I said, it's one I've experienced. Like I said, I haven't really researched into Frontier because I haven't had the need to use any of their controls. You know, I also have a secondary Wi-Fi network in my house. So, I mean, that I can get into, I can control. But again, not everybody has the knowledge to do that. You had a question?
But once you get off Wi-Fi, don't you do it straight through data?
If you're connected to the Wi-Fi, you know, depending on the phone.
Yeah, so you can still be on it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the downside of it. Like I said, if you have good cell phone reception in your house, I mean, unfortunately, just shutting the Wi-Fi off, all that's going to do is they'll still be connected. They just won't have internet, but text messages will come through on the cellular data. You know, fortunately for me, where I live, I have like 0 cell phone reception.
This is what happened to us. He was using more data than he was using it on the Wi-Fi.
On the Wi-Fi, yeah.
And we found out because the deal with
Yeah, so what you can do on devices, if you have a data cap, so if you only have like 4 gigabytes a month per device, you're actually able to go in and set up the phone to shut off using cellular data.
a stripping phone out of the pen?
Yeah, you can set it up on a device by device basis. I just need to remember how to.
Do you want to, I set up restrictions on my
Mhm.
daughter's phones.
Oh, okay. You brought her iPhone.
Yeah,
with
so
you.
let me just-
Okay. Let's do that.
Does it need to go?
Do it out front so the camera can see it.
All right.
So just go through settings.
Yeah. So you go to settings and
And then general,
yeah. So any.
and then you roll down to restrictions?
Yep. So if on an iPhone you go to settings, you go to general, scroll down to where it says restrictions. So this one is on. So right away it has a password to get in.
No, don't look at that password, Evelyn.
So I'm guessing
So I turned off her
Safari,
internet.
okay.
So her internet is off, and
Yeah.
then anything else that I want to turn off and want to set restrictions on. And location services you can do through there as
yeah.
well.
So yeah, you can definitely set them up. Like I said, I haven't really done a lot of research with the Androids, just because thankfully I haven't needed them yet and so far, but I'm sure it's coming. But that's pretty neat. I'll have to explain more about that. Yeah, do you have a question?
So if you do that,
Use the mic.
if you do that on the device, what prevents your daughter from being able to go in there and change the setting back?
Not knowing the password.
Oh,
Yeah, so you set a password on that. So you can set the restrictions, you can go in. So that's a good, in lieu of having to create a secondary account and making sure you remember the username and password, you can use restrictions on iPhones. I will say they have more robust parental controls or more restrictions available for them. Each device is different. Apple's a little more stringent with their security protocols, and Google's like, oh yeah, you want us to break into this phone? Sure, we'll do it. So it's just a scary world. So one of the big things you can do. So like starting with Facebook. So like I have mine to the point where, let's see if I can find it. So you go to Facebook, you go to that little drop down menu again. It's really hard to see up there because it's tiny. So if the Facebook app is pretty similar device to device. So if you open your page and you go all the way to the far right, there's like those 3 bars. And if you click on that, it'll pull up, different options. So if you go all the way down to settings and privacy, you click on that. So now you can go in account settings, privacy, shortcuts. So this is where you can set it where you can either lock down or open up your account. So if your account's open, even people who aren't friends with you can see what you do. So I think it's account settings, and then you go privacy. So my activity, I have it on public only because I use my Facebook for work purposes, but you can change that, so that's mine where it says public. I can click on public next to my picture. Of course, it's not going to work. Come on. Oh, there we go. Oi. So give me one second. So who can see my future posts? It's me and, oh, okay. So what it is, when you post something to Facebook, the default is public. So you can actually do it post by post. It's like when you post onto Facebook, post a status, there's a little bar under your name. And like I said, the default is public. You can click on that. You can say, friends only. And let me see. So you can limit who can see your post on your timeline. Yeah. I haven't played with these in a while, so they changed. So who can see the people pages and list you follow? I have it listed as only me. So if you were to go to my Facebook page, if we were Facebook friends, you would not be able to see any pages that I've liked or people I follow or lists that I follow or groups or anything. So anyone can send me a friend request. So it says who can send you friend request. Well, I can change it to friends of friends. So again, with your kids, if 14, 15, they're old enough for Facebook. Once had somebody look at me and go, "Oh, you have Facebook? That's for old people like you." I'm 36 years old. But Facebook was also built for my generation and older. A lot of kids tend to use Instagram or Snapchat. There are some kids, that will use Facebook. It's a good way to keep in touch with the family. So you can switch it to friends of friends. So if you have kids who have friends that are on Facebook, and there's just so many people that our kids encounter on a daily basis, you're not going to be able to get them all at once. So you can change it to friends of friends. So then only people that they know can friend request them, or like you can friend request them. So it's like that new Facebook Messenger for kids. So I don't know if everybody's heard of it. So what Facebook Messenger for kids is the account on Facebook Messenger. You can install it on a young child. It's for kids under 13. It's another way for them to communicate. However, it's very restricted. Parental controls up the wazoo. Everything is locked down.
Do you have it on?
I don't have it on my phone. I absolutely refuse to let my daughter have it. I feel like sometimes when I talk about my kid, I'm like, man, I am like the world's strictest 36-year-old parent. But I like to limit, and again, every household is different. I just like the idea of spending family time together. But so what it is with my research I've done is, so you create the account for your child. Anybody that wants to connect with them has to go through you to do it. And a lot of times, and you can set who can friend request them. So you can say, okay, well, my, the relatives, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, siblings, and you can limit it to that. And they have, access to the Facebook Messenger filters. When you take a picture, Facebook, I think, is trying to become Snapchat with the filters, and sometimes Facebook has better filters. I use the filters on my Facebook Messenger, but on the flip side is, let's say somebody decides to spoof one of your family members' accounts, tries to friend request your child on Facebook Messenger for kids, and you go, oh, they must have gotten a new account. And not thinking, because it's a familiar face, you're going to go, oh yeah, add, and then they're in. So, any app geared towards a child, I think I personally think 13 is too young. At 13 years old, I wasn't capable of, personally, I wasn't capable of making decisions. That's not to say every 13-year-old is not capable of making adult decisions or smart decisions, but I know from my experience, and I think that's why I base a lot of it with my child that way, is the world's a lot scarier than when I was 13. Mine's 10. My daughter's 10. So I'm quite afraid of what the world is becoming. And social media is the biggest driving force of that. So the big thing is, aside from everyone can send me a friend request, only I can see my friends list. So anyone who would try to use anything from my account to scam me or get through, like let's say my daughter was older and 14, 15, and she has a Facebook, they wouldn't even know it because they can't see her on my friends list. So that's a good one. It kind of not only helps your children, it helps you as adults too, because then, if you have someone who's kind of nosy in your life and wants to be friends with everyone you're friends with, it kind of locks that ability down for them. They're not able to do that. So who can look you up using the email address? Only friends can look me up through my email, because why would somebody I don't know have my email? Only friends can look me up by my Facebook. And search engines outside of Facebook cannot link to my profile. So if you Google and try to find my Facebook, you won't find it. So that's, it's pretty locked down for an adult, but it's a good practice with with kids. So that's the Facebook one. I haven't really, so my Instagram.
Do you have to have Facebook to have the Messenger for kids?
Yes, an adult has to have Facebook. because otherwise you can't create the account. That's not to say, unfortunately, let's say, you as the parent doesn't have the Facebook account, but then let's say, an older sibling does. Again, I have to do a little more research into it, so I'm not 100% sure if there's an age limit. But again, not everybody puts their birthday, month, and year. I do, to me, it's just a number. It's, I don't care if people know I'm almost 40. I'm happy with who I am. So, the thing again with Instagram, so to even see my Instagram, you have to ask me. You have to personally request to follow me. And that's another thing. One of the big things I heard in a discussion is, let me see if I can find it. So literally you go in, you click private account under settings, and and people have to ask you to follow. So one of the best pieces of advice I heard from a discussion, again, on social media safety for kids is go through your kids' social media, whatever apps they use. So especially Instagram's a big one. Because again, Instagram, it's all about the followers. It's all about how many people follow you on Instagram. The more the better. Go through your kids' Instagram followers. Don't be afraid to ask them. And if you see people who you don't know or you're not comfortable or you get a bad vibe from, ask, well, who is that? And if your kid's like, well, I don't know them, they just wanted to follow me, or they followed me. One of the biggest, I guess, powerful questions you can ask, well, what are they doing to benefit your life? Or are they a good addition to your life? So, don't be afraid to go through the Instagram accounts. And literally that's the biggest thing, so you can have them not save photos, you can have them not save anything posted. I just literally just clicked it to a private account. And if it's private, all someone can see when they log on is it's a lock. So if you scroll up, so when you open it up, you scroll all the way to the far right on the bottom right hand corner. It's like the silhouette of a person. You click on that. Oh no, never mind. It's not the person. Sorry, I don't feel around Instagram that much. To be honest, I don't use social media more than for anything for work, but I keep up on it because part of what we do in our industry is people always have questions for us, so we always like to be able to help out as much as we can. So it's in the upper right hand corner. So like Facebook had the 3 dashes, Instagram has the 3 vertical dots. So you click on that, it opens up the settings. So you can invite your Facebook friends, you can invite contacts. So if you scroll down a little bit, it'll say private account. So you see mine is blue. That's what allows it to be locked down. So again, like my Facebook, if you found me on Instagram, you would see a picture of me and it would have a big lock that says this account is private. Unfortunately with that one is your kids can very easily go in and unprivate the account. But again, that can also be something added into a contract where, part of that, what your expectation is, you can flat out put in your Instagram account will remain private and is subject to be looked at any time. And if you open that settings and it's not private, the consequence will be you will lose privileges for X amount of, again, whatever you're comfortable with. Any questions on anything so far? Or?
So Charles, I wonder, a lot of us have our own device here, and I wonder if it would be okay at this point to maybe work one-on-one with people's specific questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or to walk through people's devices. That way, we don't have to do it on camera and show everybody's passwords, but
yeah, that's the thing. Like I said,
a little bit of one-on-one, more tech help might be a good thing to do now. I think. Are people willing to do that?
Do
they need
I can
kind
do
of
that.
help? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Who would like to go first? Well, I need a parental filter on this, so I'm gonna ask to install Teen Safe
Yep. So
on this device. So
on
maybe
your
we could
device.
do it on there.
Yeah. All right. So let me pull that out.
That's
Do that. I do apologize. I get Facebook messages like constantly. All right, so I need to find your app store.
So my app
Oops.
store, it's probably, there it
Right
is.
there, so
Oh,
Messenger for kids.
That's Messenger for Kids. I wanted to make sure we saw that.
Yeah. All right, hold on one second. So just a real quick, and I just noticed this. So when typing in Teen Safe into the App Store, I literally didn't even get through. I typed in teen. The first suggestion that comes up is dating. Why do teens need a dating app? You know, not to say you know, dating apps are bad. It's just another way that we've kind of progressed with technology, but there shouldn't be one specifically geared towards teens, in my opinion. So those are other things to look out for. So Teen Safe, boom. And the great thing with Teen Safe is once it's installed, oh, you gotta be kidding me. And why is that not coming up?
Do you have a device we need to monitor?
Let me see. Oop, nope. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I have big hands, so we'll do that.
Let me know when you need my secret code.
Yeah. Huh, that's odd. And pull up your Safari if you want. It's Facebook. There we go. I'll try to do it through the website because for some reason it's not coming up in the App Store. Start today. Okay. There we go. Oh, you know what? I think you have to sign up online first.
Like before you buy the app?
Yeah, like before you can download, I think you have to actually register. Like I said, and this is something I probably should have tested out on my own device. So yeah, you just go there.
Let me see. I can do that.
Can I ask a question, Chris?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this Teen Safe you're trying to install, the app, I mean, what's the purpose of it? It's supposed to be good to help screen out the, you know, the bad websites? Or?
Everything I've read on it has been great. So it doesn't screen anything, but it allows you to have full control. You can see text messages, deleted text messages, which are great. Because, you know, kids, one of the first things they do is they will delete their text messages. Yeah, see, it won't even let me download Teen Safe directly. You can see text messages, you can see apps that are installed.
You see them first, then before the teenager
No,
sees them?
you can get a look at exactly what they have on their device.
Or what they're seeing at the same time?
You know, and if you found that you've given your kid a phone and they haven't really done anything to break the trust, you know, you might be able to, you know, save the $15 a month. But if you really feel, you know, that you need to, you know, I definitely recommend some sort of monitoring system in place. You know, there's others out there but that's probably the one I found that does a good combination of what, you know, like there's apps I found they'll do part of what Teen Safe does, and then there's another app that'll cover the other part of what Teen Safe does, but not the full scale of it. So this is the most all-in-one parental monitoring or control app that I have found in my research. And it just kind of happened to be reading an article and it popped up and I was like, oh, that's a great one to check out.
Chris,
Yes.
so I'm installing it now.
Okay.
And I guess for a lot of the parental controls and filters applications out there, you have the legal disclaimer, right? So I'm going to read it to you. By checking this box, I certify that I will only use TeenSafe to monitor the mobile device and computer activities of children for whom I am the legal guardian on computers and mobile devices that I own and control, and I agree to all the terms of the TeenSafe, and there's, of course, the user agreement. But I guess that's something we should make sure to mention, that there is a kind of a legal component of our monitoring these devices.
Absolutely.
And what you were saying earlier was, it's your device. You pay for the service, you purchase,
Yeah.
hopefully, the device.
Yeah.
And there is a legal responsibility of monitoring this, because obviously, we're infringing on the privacy of somebody else. They happen to be our child, and
Yeah.
that's legally okay.
Yeah, but you know, and that lies, you know, and that's the big thing, you know, obviously don't try to, don't try to just say, hey, I'm going to try to monitor so-and-so's phone. They're a bad influence on my child. That's definitely not, you know, there's just, you know, aside from being, you know, kind of a little unethical, but highly illegal. You obviously can't monitor somebody else's child, but you can monitor what your child does. Obviously, if in the process of monitoring what your child does, you do discover one of their peers is doing something, you know, that could be of good or great harm to them, absolutely bring it up to their friend's parents. You know, and that's the other thing, you know, as parents, we should absolutely have a good relationship with our kids' friends' parents. You know, not, does it have to be, hey, they come over every weekend for family dinner? No. But at least know who your kids' parents are. You know, I had a friend growing up who was not allowed to come over if my parents weren't there. My parents were a little different. I could go over someone's house with no parents being there, but you know, every household is different. But you know, again, you know what you're comfortable with, and you know what's going to make you feel uncomfortable. And unfortunately, we are a social media driven society at this point.
So I'm going to keep reporting on the install.
Is it still going?
It's still going.
Okay.
It went $14.95 a month, but you get to try it free for the
7
first
days.
week.
Yep.
And then once you're done entering your, I'm done entering my credit card information, and it wants the name of the adult
Yeah.
to be the responsible party for all of this.
Yep.
And then you set up your own security questions, so I'm going to do that. And then
Yes.
hopefully we'll get in and see what
Get
the
in
app
and
does.
see what we can do.
Okay.
Great.
In the meantime, does anybody have any
How
questions?
safe is it to put your credit card information in there?
Pretty, you know what, to be honest, we found that you're actually safer doing it on your phone than on your computer. Not to say that everybody's computer isn't safe, but, you know, and again, it's not just with not just with the phones, because I could go off on a whole another probably 2 hours worth of just talking about being safe on the internet for anybody. Just because the internet's a scary place on its own. And you throw social media in there and it's just like, you're like, oh my God, what am I doing as a parent? What was your question?
Yeah, so I looked up Frontier to see if they had something analogous to APPY.
Yeah.
They have some kind of parental control,
Okay.
but it doesn't work on a Mac.
Of course.
So I wondered if there's a way to log into the router directly to restrict IP addresses.
I didn't delve that deep with my Comcast router, but I know that you can do it with, like, if you had a secondary router. Like, I
Yeah.
have a secondary Linksys in my house. So I know I can log in directly. I can limit MAC addresses. I can do an IP range address. You know, I don't think I can directly shut off Wi-Fi to device specifics, but I can also lock out certain IP addresses. But again, that would require taking the time of learning the IP address
Right.
of each device.
Right.
So that's where, and that's where companies are kind of failing big time, is they're not gearing towards both. Because there's Mac users, there's PC users, there's households that have both. So if you have the household with Frontier that has Mac and PC, you can limit your PC users, but you can't limit the Mac users. So it's like,
If your kid's smart enough to set up a proxy.
Exactly. Or, VPNs are becoming a huge thing. We had an issue with proxy servers at the school district I worked in. It was a huge deal. Some kids got in some serious trouble because of it. We discovered it very quickly. We just couldn't pinpoint exactly who it was.
So I had a quasi-related question on Google Chrome, because I've tried to set up parental controls in it.
There's not many.
Had a lot of luck.
There is not many, if any at all, with Google Chrome.
I've been told you can set up like another profile or person
You
in
can.
the browser, and then password protect that, so
Yes.
that you're only logging the kid into a specific environment.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I try and create the person, it just kind of spins and spins and chokes and never completes.
I'll have to look more into that, because again, we actually had something in the district I worked in. We had Google accounts for the students. So they contributed with each other on Google Drive. That's great. Until they probably, and it never happened, but it could be one of those, once they figure out, hey, I can send a Google Doc to anybody, it just opens the whole world, a whole nother world, or a whole nother level of cyberbullying. That's the big thing. The big scary thing with social media is the cyberbullying that goes on.
Yeah, my daughter, on her Chromebook,
Yeah.
Walsh,
Yeah.
some other kid wrote something pretty bad.
Here's the mic.
My daughter received, through Google Docs on her Chromebook at Walsh, some pretty bad writing that somebody had sent her. And had sent it in a coded way that they weren't sure
Who sent it?
who had sent it. And originally, my daughter was getting in trouble for this being on her account. And we were able to figure out that she really hadn't sent it.
Yeah, it's...
So, that makes me very uncomfortable knowing that she's got a Chromebook over there.
Yeah. My 10-year-old has a Chromebook at her school. So, I like to think that she's comfortable enough coming to me and telling me things, or my wife. But it boils down to, a lot of times they're afraid to get someone in trouble. They're afraid of the backlash. And again, that all lies into the... Oh, we have an update?
I do, it's not good news.
Uh-oh.
So I had decided early on when we got this device for her that it was going to use my Apple ID.
Yep.
Because I wanted to be able to access and do the settings, and if she needed to charge an app, I wanted to make sure I knew before she bought
Downloaded
anything.
it, yeah.
So that was kind of my parental control. It will be my ID, and I will get a message if anything goes wrong. So to establish Teen Safe, you need a parent Apple ID and you need a child
So you need a
separate
separate
Apple ID, because otherwise you're installing the filters on yourself. But so that's the first decision you have to make, is kind of separate your two identities.
Yeah.
And then it does want your child's information, which I wasn't comfortable entering, my date of birth and her name and all of that. I'm a little weary of giving too much for Consumer Reports, whatever. I did have something to add about the Chromebook and the
Chrome,
Google Doc.
yeah.
I caught her, she had been working on a project with a friend. They had been texting on my phone and her mom's phone, so that we were all monitoring that. And then I called her out of her room and I said, "What are you doing?" She said, I'm chatting with my friend." And I said, "But you're not using your device." She was on her computer. They were both typing into the same Google Docs, and they were basically texting each other without our devices. And so I said, "Don't erase your document, because I'd like to read your conversation after."
Yeah.
And they can bypass everything.
Real time. Yeah, Google Docs
When
will
they go-
update real time.
it's real time, there is no record of it. It's not like the app, the filter or this app that will send you a copy of all the text messages. It's live, they can delete
Yep.
it right there and
They
then.
can do some, Google and Apple are wonderful companies. They develop some wonderful things, but at the same time, it can be used for some awful purposes.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop installing.
Yeah, no, that's no problem. And then, and again, with that, again, I should have delved a little more deeper into that when I just liked what I read. I didn't realize you had to put your kids' information in there. And I myself, as a tech person, am a little uncomfortable with that. So then it boils down to, just how much do you want to give? It actually, it's funny when you mention Consumer Reports with putting your child's name and date of birth. It's a little off topic. It makes me think of an episode of, I'm sure, I don't know how many people have seen Parks and Recreation. There's an episode where they have a tech company in town. They provide everybody with free Wi-Fi, free phones. So then everybody starts getting these drone deliveries of different things, and everyone's like, oh, Ron's gonna be very upset about this, and he was like, oh no, it's great, I think it's wonderful, I think the free market is great. And then he shows up at Ben and Leslie's door in the rain with a drone that he shot down. He's like, this company got into Diane's computer and found out information about my son and delivered him this. Again, if you've seen the show, Ron's very private. He redacts everything. So boy, it made me think of that episode of, and even pop culture is joking about it, like, oh, everybody's compiling information. So again, again, what makes you feel comfortable and uncomfortable, and go with that gut. If you think something's going on,
If you just change, the kid's name.
you could.
Anonymous? I'm sure you could.
You could.
Use their middle name.
You could use their middle name. You could use you could use a fake name, or you can shorten the name. You can do a bunch of different things if you still want to use it. I don't exactly remember the other app that a parent I know had used, but she actually used the app for her kids, tried it out. Her kids are not bad kids. I've met her kids, and liked it. So I would have to touch base with her. She actually works for Madison Youth and Family, and she was like, "Yeah, it was a great app. It worked. It did what I needed it to do." Any other questions on anything? Or? Yeah.
So,
Mike.
I was hoping to talk about.
The mic.
Oh, sorry. I was hoping that we could talk about other games, like, we worry about what they're doing on Snapchat and what they're doing on, a vault or a fake thing to hide stuff, but my daughter likes to sing, and we downloaded this karaoke app, right? She sings, she plays the music, and I don't have to download every single bit of karaoke music. And then it turns out that people could chat with her who had downloaded the app.
Are you talking about Musical.ly or a different app?
There were like 3 other karaoke apps.
Yeah, I know Musical.ly is a big one. So Musical.ly has kind of become what Vine used to be. Except with Vine, it was you created a 6-second video, you put it up, ha ha ha, people were funny. Musical.ly, people will have access to music clips, and they can make their own little music videos and lip sync to it. But again, it's kind of another version of social media. People can connect with you on that. My daughter has a Musical.ly, but it's so locked down. That is the one social media app she uses, and when she barely uses it at home. She barely remembers she has a tablet when she's at home. Thank God. But it's it's very locked down. She has like 3 friends, maybe 4. I don't even know. It's like her friend, one of her friends who's a year older than her. My wife follows her, and I think a friend of ours follows her. But that's it. We've locked it down. Another thing when you mentioned gaming,
Yes.
not just on your phones. PC gaming, Xbox, PlayStation, they're huge in our kids' lives these days. The scary thing about online gaming, you do not know who your kids are chatting with. If they're in a wide open game, Fortnite and PUBG right now are huge. One of our friends of our family.
Can you talk about the social aspect of that?
Yeah, so the social aspect of that is, a lot of kids in a social group like, oh, hey, I play PUBG, you should play. It's free. Fortnite's free. I think PUBG is the one you have to pay for. So it's, oh, hey, play this game with me. Well, that's all great and fun. So you get a group of 4 or 5 friends that play together. However, there's 100 people in a Fortnite game or a PUBG game. So yes, your child knows 4 to 5 of them, but then there's 90-something people that your kids don't know. So social aspect, they can talk to anybody. Anybody can talk to anybody in these games. If you're savvy enough, you can set it to private. If you have an Xbox, I've actually done a little bit of extensive research on this. I have an Xbox. My daughter plays online, but what I like with the Xbox is I can put the in-game audio through the TV, and she can hear it through her headset. But I'm hearing what's being said to her. We're sitting there one night. Somebody says, "Oh, where do you live?" And it was a friend of someone. It was my daughter's friend. My daughter's friend. They play Minecraft together. And one of her friend's friends was like, "Oh, where do you guys live?" And she goes to answer, and the next words out of my mouth, "Don't you dare continue, or I will shut that Xbox off faster than you know it's gonna come." But it's that simple. You get caught up in the game, and the social aspect of it is someone's gonna say, "Hey, where are you from?" And not even thinking, because you're sucked into the game, the kid's gonna go, "Oh yeah, I live here," and you have people showing up at your house that you don't know. Do you have?
I want you to talk about what you were saying before we started.
Yeah.
We discussed location services
Yes.
digitally, but then you talked about where these devices are located in the house.
Mhm.
Talk a little
Oh
bit
yeah,
about
so the big thing, and I actually just remember that. So most houses, you have definitely at least one computer, sometimes more. Biggest, yeah, the Xbox as well. Our Xbox is in the living room. Keep it in a centralized location where you can see them using it, and where if once they're in bed, they don't have the computer in the room. I know a lot of times they need the computer for homework. That's great. I think it's awesome they can use computers for homework, but the centralized location is awesome because you can monitor, you can see what they're doing. You could have it next to the TV. So that way, if they're on the computer, you're watching TV, you make it look like you're more focused on the TV, but you can kind of glance over every once in a while and go, okay, what are they doing? Who are they talking to? And the Xbox, like I said, thankfully I have the Xbox in the living room because I never would have heard that person ask where my daughter lives. I don't know if it's really a friend of her friends. I don't know that. Another big thing that people will do with online gaming is, I'm sure you've heard about it in the news, is swatting. So what swatting is, a lot of kids will play these games. They'll play like Call of Duty, PUBG, Fortnite. They'll, let's say your kid, gets a kill or something on that person. That person will get so mad to the point where they will somehow figure out where you live and call the cops and claim that there's a hostage situation or, somebody's being shot at. And what they'll do is they'll crank the volume, play guns ablazing over their phone, and the cops will rush the house. The SWAT team will bust your door down, and the next thing you know, the kid's sitting there playing the game. The cops busting, like, oh my god! It's happened. It happens a lot. It's been live streamed on like Twitch and Steam, and somebody unfortunately was killed over it. But that's just the dangers of kids being able to go on these platforms and just have full access to people they don't know. Xbox, I'm still doing research because I'm having a hard time finding what parental controls are available aside from, oh, you can set the rating limit on the game. But most of the games the kids want to play are above the rating level that you would set for them. I know kids in elementary school that are playing Call of Duty. That's a mature rated game. And yeah, did I grow up playing those games? Yeah. But I didn't have online access. I was there by myself, or I had my friends come over. So that, the social aspect of that is, they're talking to grown people, grown adults. Yeah.
Well, I was reading something the other day that parents should sit down and play the video games with their
Absolutely.
kids for anything that they do, even if they just rent it for the time being, because then you are forced to sort of see what they're seeing. And if you can only take it for 5 minutes, then that's probably a sign that your child is going to be sort of overwhelmed or overstimulated. And then you will, just like you said, I had no idea. See, my kids don't play video games. Poor buggers. Socially, it's a little difficult for them. So when they go over to a friend's house, they can't associate as easily. And they've played Fortnite once, I think. But I had no idea that you could actually hear people talking while they're playing the video game.
Yeah, you can talk to each other. It's.
Oh my gosh.
I do it. I talk to people. When I've played online. Even way. I was much younger. Before my daughter was born. It was right when online gaming was becoming a decent thing.
I want you to show this on the screen because
yes.
different stuff.
Yes. So YouTube is another big one. So. Big thing with YouTube is, yes, there are parental controls. Yes, there's YouTube for kids. However, people are circumventing those by creating Minecraft videos or Nintendo videos, and they're innocent, per se. But what people are doing is they're putting very suggestive situations, very violent, very explicit. So there are Minecraft videos out there. It's Minecraft. But it's not Minecraft. It's... Which one? The top one?
Well,
or?
Each of the gaming platforms has a tutorial video.
Yeah.
Like the Nintendo Switch has a video. What I found on YouTube is that each of the gaming platforms, like the Nintendo Switch, has a tutorial. And they teach you how to put in the parental controls.
Yeah.
So we can't cover all the gaming platforms, but you can go to YouTube and find the manufacturer's tutorial on how to do it.
Yeah.
And there's tons of resources that will walk you through step by step on how to do what we're trying to do for your specific device.
Yeah.
So don't forget about that. That's a good resource. And
Yeah, I mean, typically the video games is the one of the most overlooked, because you think, oh, they're just playing games. I grew up playing video. I still play video games. I play hockey. I play hockey with my wife, and I play hockey together. That's it. That's all I play. But that's what I'm an adult. I enjoy doing that. But kids are always gonna wanna do what's popular. They're gonna wanna. They're going to want to play that violent game, or they're going to want to play what everyone else is playing. They're going to want to do what everyone else is doing. And it's like, hey, my 5 or 6 friends are playing Fortnite. And I'm going to probably lean more towards Fortnite because that seems to be the more popular one. Actually, we have a high school kid that works for us who kind of lets me know about these things. And he's like, oh, yeah, I love this game. And at first he was like, oh, that game, nobody likes that game. And then the more people play it, the more popular it gets. And that's what, and again, you can just talk to people. I mean, half the time you don't even have to play the game. You can go online and watch someone else play the game and interact with that person. You can talk to that person. So again, you're watching someone play Fortnite, or you can watch somebody play a kid's video game. And it's a grown adult playing like a kids-based video game, and they do it because they know they're going to get the most viewers. So you get 100+ viewers. It's 100 people your kid doesn't know that they're interacting with. Now I will say, the video game streaming platforms are very, very strict. They have zero tolerance for vulgar language, any, nudity, racism, discriminatory, anything they deem wrong, they will ban the person. They don't hesitate because they know that their target audience is that younger generation. So it's probably one of the few platforms I can actually have good things to say about that I would probably be fine with my kid going on. Not entirely fine with it because it's sitting in front of a computer instead of doing other things. Yes.
Chris, I know we're out of time, and I don't want to cheat you out of your plug and where you are so that people can actually bring their device to you and you can work with them one-on-one. So tell us about that.
So, I work for Enterprise Computer. We do have a location right here in Branford. We're at 71 West Main Street, right across from Lake Saltonstall. So, if you're coming down Route 1, I like to tell people it's the very last plaza in Branford before you hit the Twin Pines Diner on the left-hand side. We're in with a nail salon and a hair salon. We do have a location in Clinton as well, 83.
Did it catch on fire last year?
I don't believe so. It might have been a different one because we're right at the top of the hill when you go down. So we're right across from the lake. And we do have a location in Clinton. It's 83 West Main Street. We've been around for 20 years. We're always here to answer questions. We're always here to help. Don't hesitate to come in. If for some reason I'm not there, anyone else is definitely more than capable to help out. We, like I said, we're on Facebook. If you want to take a look, we always post interesting things. We're here to help you with any questions, anything, or any issues that may arise. We can definitely help you out with that. No problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Frank?
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a great program. There was a lot of very important information. It's not easy to, to learn all that. I mean, there's all kinds of places on the vast internet and all sorts of things. So this was all great information.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I mean, and a lot of it just, a lot of it I just learned, my wife does a program in Madison. So, I've learned a lot from my wife. She works for Youth and Family. So they've done a lot of research into this, and then they also have a radio program on ICRV. It's called the Parent Project. So it's it's the River Valley Radio. It's online. It's on Saturday mornings at 9 live, or it's taped. So it's on Saturday mornings. I believe this Saturday it's going to be live. But they always have not, and they've done a couple episodes on it called APPY Hour as well. But they do other tidbits. They have some great guests on as well. So if you're ever looking for something new to listen to other than the typical radio, and definitely give it a listen. But they have some good tips, and I've picked up a lot from other people along the ways and done my research. And again, like I said, any questions, don't hesitate to come visit us. We're open 9 to 6 Monday through Friday and 10 to 2 on Saturdays.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're
That was
welcome.
Chris Barden of Enterprise Computers. Thanks for all that very valuable and important information for parents. It's been great to be with you. This was the Branford family's final parent cafe for this part of the year. They are going to have a whole new series, though, coming up this fall. And they're going to concentrate this fall with the parent cafes on collaboration and compassion. So I'm sure there's going to be very interesting programs coming up. So please stay in touch with Branford families, and you can do that. They do have their own Facebook page at Branford Families and also at branfordfamilies.org. So it's been great to be with you today. Celia Tucci, she is the co-founder of Branford Families. And so it's been great to be with you all. And there's going to be some other great programs coming up, so stay with us in the future. We're right here on BCTV. I'm Frank Tuhill, and thanks for being with us again. And we'll be back again. And this has been a presentation of Around the Town of Branford with Henry and Frank. Until next time, goodbye.